Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I can't begin to tell you what it means to us. I'm Vic Reynolds. I'm the District Attorney of the Cobb Judicial Circuit, and I again want to take a moment on behalf of the entire staff in the DA's office and tell you thank you. Thank you for coming out, particularly in such terrible weather, and being with us tonight as we start what we hope to be an annual process, and it's our first annual Cobb County Homicide Memorial. I want you to understand the purpose of this evening tonight. We're here to honor those that have lost their lives to homicide in Cobb County. We're also here to provide an opportunity for the surviving family members to remember their loved ones. And we're also here this evening to remind us, those of us in the criminal justice system, in law enforcement and in prosecution, why we do what we do and who we're here to serve this evening. I'd like to take a moment to recognize all of the individuals who serve in a law enforcement capacity. Thank you, first of all, for being here this evening with us. We know how much these cases mean to each of you, and your presence here certainly exhibits that. And we also want to take a moment to thank you for what you do day in and day out, for your willingness to serve this community and to protect this community. So we thank you so much for that. I'd like to take a moment, too, to thank the staff of the Cobb District Attorney's Office who have been involved in putting this evening together. You'll hear from our Director of Victim Witness, Kim McCoy, a little bit further on in the evening, and she'll specifically talk about some folks. But I wanted to take this moment, too, to thank you to the staff for doing this evening. I know how much these cases mean to you as well, how much these victims and the victim's family means to you. So from the bottom of my heart as the elected DA, thank you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for doing this evening. It's also my pleasure now to introduce our other chief assistant in the office, and this night is certainly special to Jesse. These are the type cases that he's been doing for a number of years and does a fantastic job for this office, so this is a special night for him as well. And his role tonight is to introduce our guest speaker. So join with me in welcoming our chief assistant, Mr. Jesse Evans.
So many familiar faces out here. It's so great to see so many of you as you were coming in. For those that don't know me, my name is Jesse Evans, and I'm Vic's Major Crimes Prosecutor, which means my primary responsibility is to work on the homicide prosecutions here in Cobb. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for attending this evening of remembrance. I'm so honored to have the privilege of introducing our next speaker, Frank Tavares. As Vic's Major Crimes Prosecutor, I head the team whose mission is to seek justice for you all, to hold our most violent homicidal offenders accountable for their crimes. Our job is to give you and your loved ones a voice in court. And though our paths often cross at the darkest times for you, considering your unique and unexpected loss, my team and I are eternally optimistic, always seeking something positive, even in the face of the most tragic of circumstances. And that's not always easy to do. But I've often remarked that one of the most positive aspects of our work is to getting to know all of you all, and through you, getting to know the loved one that you have lost. You all, Frank included, are the reason we choose to do what we do. And in you, we see strength, honor, resilience, and love. And from you, we gain motivation and a stark reminder of this important job that we do on a daily basis. And for that, we are eternally grateful. You all honor us with your presence tonight, and I give you a round of applause for joining us. And thank you. In 2015, Catherine and our next speaker, Frank Tavares, lost their son, Anthony, in a truly senseless act of violence at the hands of violent felons, all gang members. And so our journey began together in our quest to hold those responsible for their loss accountable for their crimes. This is a journey that we've shared many times with many of you in this room, many of whom I was able to share hugs with and handshakes with today. Through the process and despite unimaginable pain, Frank and Catherine remained strong and supportive. And though it took time together, we were finally able to successfully convict the men who took Anthony's life just this past year. Doing so even required that Frank give testimony in the murder trial itself, so he testified as a fact witness, something oftentimes family members don't have to do. And that was a particularly taxing thing that we asked Frank to do, and he did so. Frank, as it happens, also has some law enforcement background, giving him a truly unique perspective on the process. And through it all, he exhibited a remarkable strength and courage. And so, as a way to more meaningfully honor all of you on this somewhat somber occasion, but one in which we also celebrate your loved ones with you, it seemed more fitting that someone like Frank, with his unique depth of perspective and understanding, should be the one addressing and honoring you all tonight. So, will you please join me? It is my honor to introduce to you our next speaker and my friend, Frank Tavares. Come on.
Good evening. Before I get started, first, I was just talking to Jesse, and he was telling me how all the former district attorneys came out here for us. And I do understand this is our evening for our loved ones and to memorize them, but let's give them a round of applause what the Cobb County District Attorney's Office done and all the former DAs to come out here. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Also, I would like to take this moment to pretty much express my deepest condolences to the victims and the families of the country club shooting in Thousand Oaks, California. So please, let's keep them in our prayers, okay? I want to share a little bit about the loss of my son. But before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in New York City, where I saw violence and drugs and all that on a consistent basis. All throughout middle school and high school, I lost a lot of good friends to crime and murders. And initially, it affected me in a way where I just thought that would be a way of life. But I knew that I wanted more out of life, and I knew I had to do something with my life. So around 1984, I joined the U.S. Army as an infantryman, where I spent the next 4 years of my life preparing for war. While in the military, my dad, who worked for the Ford Motor Company in New York, they closed the plant in New York, and they transferred him here to Atlanta, the one in Hapeville. So he decided to move to Atlanta. So when I left the military, I decided to come down here to kind of be closer to him. He was having a lot of medical issues. So I said, let me come down and be closer to my dad. At that point, when I got here to Atlanta, I decided to join the Atlanta Police Department. And at this point in my life, I knew I wanted to serve my community. I had already served a lot in the military for my country, so I wanted to serve my community. So I joined the Atlanta Police Department, and that's where I spent the next 20 years of my life, where I retired in 2007 as a police detective. I remember being in the police department and investigating cases of robberies and homicides and feeling so hurt for the families because there wasn't much I could do. But the only thing that I could do for them was to try to get the perpetrators and bring some justice to them. I'm telling you guys all this just to let you know that I'm not unfamiliar with violence. I've been around it, I grew up with it. I'm not unfamiliar to death. But what I didn't know was what it was like to deal with death of a loved one or to a homicide from the family's perspective until I lost my son in 2015. My son, Anthony Terrell Tavares, he was my oldest son. He was 25 years of age when he was shot in the back while running from an attempted robbery. Being the family member of a victim of a homicide, it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't choose what family to inflict its pain on. It can happen to any one of us, whether you're rich or poor, black or white, it doesn't matter where you live, young or old, and it can happen at any time and very unexpectedly. That incident changed our family's life forever. My son was a young man, he was full of life. He had just been accepted to college. He was so excited to build a life for himself and his two boys. He had a lot of plans and goals to be a great father to his boys and to his girlfriend, Kalia, whom I love so much for taking care of those two boys and being strong for them. I remember specific moments with my boys so clear, like when he was finally able to beat me in basketball and he would put a move on me and tell me, "Getting slow, old man," and just chuckle. You know, I could just see his face. The pain that I felt knowing that I would never see him, hold him or hug or kiss my son again. That he would never get to see his kids grow up or attain the life that he so desperately envisioned. It gave me a sense of failure, sense of guilt, anger, revenge, sorrow. Seems like all these emotions at the same time. Only with the help of time, family, friends, and my faith is how I'm able to deal with it and talk to you guys here about it now. As the days passed and I came to the realization and the acceptance that I would no longer physically see or touch my son again, but I knew all along that I would just never let his memory die. He left us 2 beautiful boys to remember him by and to let them know what his father was like. So when I meet people and in conversation, they'll ask me, do you have any kids? I'll tell them, yeah, I have an older son, and he was killed in a homicide. And of course, their normal reaction is, I'm sorry to hear that. And I'll tell them, thank you. But by the way, let me tell you a little bit about him. And that's where I let people know just how unfortunate we are not to have been able to witness what this young man was capable of accomplishing and in what way he could have contributed to our society today. So I tell you this, find a reason to talk about your loved ones. Don't feel as if people don't want to hear it or it's too tragic of a situation to talk about. Let people know about your loved ones' unique qualities, the things that made them special to you and how they could have made a difference in our lives today. I refuse to let any criminal act define the beautiful memories I have of my son. I'll leave you guys with this. There's a quote from a Roman philosopher named Marcus Cicero. The life of the dead is placed in the memory of the living. So remember, it's our responsibility to keep our loved ones' memory alive. I want to thank the Cobb County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Reynolds. I want to thank you guys very much for not allowing our loved ones to just be a statistic and putting together this awesome yearly event where our victims can come together and the victim's family can come together and we can support each other, letting everybody know that the victims and their family matter in Cobb County, and that if you come here to commit a crime, justice is coming. I want to thank the Cobb County Police Department in the handling of our son's case and not leaving any stones unturned, especially Detective Stockinger, who worked long hours in putting the case together and getting ready for trial. Even though he has his own family, he put time into mine. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart District Attorney Jesse Evans. I want to thank, I get this way when I think of Jesse Evans. And his whole team. He prosecuted my son's case. They were so professional in their duties, and the investigators who worked so hard to look for witnesses and get statements. The victim liaison, Lauren, she was so empathetic in her ways of dealing with us and making sure, helping us cope with the trial process and making that much easier. District Attorney Jesse Evans, whom I got to know throughout the whole trial and the process, we built a close relationship as if I knew him for a long time. I've been in a lot of courtrooms throughout my law enforcement career, but just watching District Attorney Jesse Evans in trial and how he was so organized and prepared, you just know you're on a winning team. It wasn't just a job to him, he desperately wanted to seek justice for my family. And lastly, I want to thank the mother of my son, Catherine Molinar, for being such a great mom to my son, and now an awesome grandmother. So with that being said, I just want to thank you guys for being here. I look forward to seeing you guys next year. So let's keep doing this every year. And again, let's clap again for the Cobb County District Attorney's Office. Thank you.
Frank, stay with us just a minute, okay?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Frank, we just wanted to take a moment to present a small token of, in some ways, our appreciation for your strength and your grace, for having the ability to come and speak about your son, sharing that with us this evening. It says so much about you and your family and what kind of man you are and what kind of man your son was as well. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
sir.
I'd like now to call your attention to these candles at the front of the room. The unlit candles represent your loved ones, and we're going to honor them in just a moment. We also wanted to honor those families who could not be with us tonight as well. So for every small candle on the side table, 3 deceased victims are represented by each one. Victims of murder, of manslaughter, of vehicular homicide, of murder-suicides, and of unsolved cases. As Frank said a moment ago, These include victims from all walks of life, virtually every culture, every ethnicity, all races, all ages, all with varying backgrounds, from the elderly to the most youngest in our society. And tonight, we're here to remember them all. There are over 430 deceased victims that we honor tonight.
Thank you, Mr. DAs, retired, former, and current, for being with us this evening. I know that there are many of you in this room who have been touched by them and impacted by each of their devotions to this office, to the District Attorney's Office. So thank you very much for being here. It is our hope. It is our hope that this evening has been as special to you and meant as much to you as it has been for our office to help conduct this service. This is something that we have wanted to do for many years, and finally have some young and energetic staff to be able to help out. So thank you all for being here. It is our honor as a District Attorney's Office, as a Victim Witness Unit, and I know I speak for law enforcement as well, to represent you, to represent your family, to honor your loved one, and to represent the interest of crime victims in our community. I would be remiss if I did not thank everybody who had a hand in this event. That list is many, but I would like to particularly say thank you to Lauren and Kristen. Many of you know them. Very proud to say with DA Reynolds' support, we applied for and received grant funds to have homicide advocates specifically assigned to the death cases in our office. And so Kristen and Lauren have filled that bill and have done very well, and they were the driving force behind this event. So thank you very much. Other people are listed on, there's a poster in the back thanking other people. Again, I would be remiss if I did not say thank you, but I'm not going to try to say thank you to everybody because I will miss someone. So please just make sure you read those thank yous before you leave. I would like to leave you with this thought, because many of you I know in this room as well, and have assisted with you and your family and your cases. So I would like to leave you with one thought, and that thought is this: nothing we love is truly lost. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. So as we leave this place tonight, please know that I speak for all staff, for the program participants, for the law enforcement here in the room, when I say that we are honored to have spent this time with you. We are honored to be able to recognize your families and your loved ones in this manner, and to participate in this night of remembrance, so that we never forget Pat Ed, so that we never forget your loved one, so that we never forget your journey, and so we never forget what you mean to our office. So thank you for allowing us that pleasure and that honor.